Hello, 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 and welcome to Learning English TV with Steve Ford. Today's lesson 2 is about mouth idioms. So let's go. My first question comes from Marcos from Brazil, or as they say there, Marcos. Thank you for your question, Marcos. And Marcos would like to know if big mouth can also be used with a long tongue to mean somebody who cannot keep a secret. Because that's what big mouth is, somebody who can't keep a secret. They can't keep their mouth closed or shut. Well, thank you for your question, Marcos. And in English, actually, that is not the way that we would say it. We could only say somebody who has a big mouth. So it might be that way in your language and maybe some other languages, but not in English. So I hope that answers your question. My next question comes from Jean-Paul from France. Thank you very much for your question, Jean-Paul. Jean-Paul's question is, if I ever had to keep my lips sealed? Well, I think, Jean-Paul, that a lot of people in their professions have to keep their lips sealed. Some people more than others. In my case, I'm giving classes to people online, one-to-one, having conversations with people, and I always exercise discretion when I'm talking to my students, one-to-one. So, for certain, I am always with my lips sealed. My next question comes from Chan from China, and Chan would like to know if here in North America and Europe, if it is common for students to mouth off their teacher. Mouth off, by the way, is an American idiom for mouth. And to answer your question, Chan, what I can tell you from the information that I've collected from my students who are also teachers, some of them, and from my own personal experience when I was a teacher in an on-ground classroom, is that yes, more and more teachers are not put on the same pedestal or given perhaps the same respect that they had 20, 30 years ago. Now, that can vary from country to country, so it's difficult to generalize, but there does seem to be that kind of common trend. My next question comes from Karen from Colombia, and Karen would like to know what to do about her new mother-in-law, who is a chatterbox. If you remember from Peppy 20, a chatterbox is someone who cannot stop talking. They talk, and pretty soon it becomes blah, 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 blah. Well, Karen, thank you for sharing your dilemma with us. And what I can tell you is that I actually have many people who tell me that they don't get along with their mother-in-law. I guess it's a universal thing in some cases, and perhaps this is why there are so many jokes about mother-in-laws. What I can tell you is that maybe with time you will get to know your mother-in-law better, you will get on better and better, and perhaps your mother-in-law will start to mellow out. She will start to chill out and become a little bit more laid back with you, and less of a chatterbox. My next question comes from Shiva from India. Shiva would like to know if it's common when you're speaking a second language, like English, to have words that are appearing in your mind, or as I say, your biological hard drive, but they are actually on the tip of your tongue. Every single day, Shiva, I get this comment from my online students. It's a very common dilemma that I think everybody shares, so you shouldn't feel bad. If you have some words that are on the tip of your tongue, it's just because you're trying to multitask, trying to translate from your original language into English. And what commonly happens is that you get stuck in between both languages, and suddenly all of those words from your language and English are on the tip of your tongue, but they never come out of your mouth. Okay, let's go into those extra idioms for mouth. My first one is to put your money where your mouth is. This means that you prove what you are saying. Not just talk, but actually actions. So let's take an example. Let's say that your friend says, I will pay you back tomorrow. If he's a good friend, somebody that you know very well and that you are very open with, you could say something to the effect of, put your money where your mouth is. Prove it. The next extra idiom, one of my favorites, to put your foot in your mouth, which is American, and to put your foot in it, which is British. They both mean the same thing. It means that you slip up, that you say the wrong thing at the wrong time. I have a friend in the past who had a colleague at work who was pregnant. He saw her pregnant for many months, and then she had her baby. After she came back from maternity leave, my friend asked this woman who was wearing a very tight dress, "Oh, are you expecting a new baby?" And his colleague replied, "No, it's the dress." My next extra idiom is by word of mouth, and this is one of my favorite ones. My concrete example of this is a friend of ours in Brazil who was in a bar, and he overheard a conversation. A couple were talking about the funny honeymoon, and they were referring to many scenes in the funny honeymoon. When my friend overheard this conversation, he turned to the couple and said, "I know those people." So we can see that initially a video through YouTube by word of mouth can travel from place to place and person to person. My last one is took the words right out of my mouth. This means that you are talking to a friend and suddenly, unexpectedly, your friend completes your sentence for you, or your friend says the word that you were going to say. It's almost like telepathy. Your friend is reading your mind and he takes the word or words right out of your mouth. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed all of those extra idioms. I want to thank you for all of the students who sent me questions. I enjoyed answering your questions. I look forward to my next Learning English TV Lesson 3. If you have any questions about previous videos that I have on YouTube, please send me an email. And I look forward to our next Learning English TV lesson next week. Bye-bye.